This is episode 168 of the Rise Up Podcast. We're a morning radio show hosted by Steve and Tim on Family Life, a network of stations across New York and Pennsylvania. This podcast is a weekly conversation designed to help you think and laugh and keep your eyes on Jesus. If you haven't already, subscribe today so you don't miss a single episode. And find out more about our show at familylife.org.
We weren't sure how you liked your coffee, so we didn't make any. Hope that's okay. It's Rise Up with Steve and Tim on Family Life.
I think two words could say it, really. Just thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the influence of moms, I'm thinking about how it really is a world-shaping influence.
And I think in today's chat, we'll talk about not only our own moms, but we'll also talk about our views of our wives who are moms and the roles that they have played and what we've seen and what we've witnessed, not only in our own moms, but our wives who are moms. I'll start with my mom, who, when I think about it, it's funny because, you know, she's been gone now for a few decades, and you think back and I hear other people. I hear my close friends who grew up with me, and they reflect on their memories of my mom.
Oh.
And they say always how welcoming she was and how they always felt safe in our home. And she was, you know, always had a smile and was just a welcoming mom. And of course, when I was little, growing up, I didn't think much about that. She was my mom, and that's what I experienced every day. But when I hear other people reflect on their memories of my mom, so I know that had an influence on me, and how they said something about her that now, you know, reaches me, and they go, "Your mom is really funny." And I'm thinking, really? She was? I don't remember that, but that might explain a little bit. Dad was too, but they always remember her as being kind and funny. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess I grew up around that a little bit as well, but the influences they have. But the one thing I'll always remember about both parents, but I'll just say my mom, always there for every single event that I had, whether it was sports, whether it was music, whether it was anything in school, and even beyond there, just always there. Always present. And that had a huge influence on me, because I remember before I was married, before I had kids, I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to be like that. I'm always going to be there, because I know it meant so much for me and had an influence. So that's a legacy, if you will, of being present with your kids that is going to live for generations.
Yeah, definitely. The being present to and being present with the kids mattering for so long. I think about, Steve, that my mom and I would spend time driving to school together every day, because she was a teacher at the school where I went. And we'd pray basically every day. And that was something Mom led and wanted to do. And there were times where I was like, I don't want to pray today. I just want to sit in the car and try to sleep, or whatever it was that you try to do. And I think that influence has made such a difference in my life, being prayed for and then seeing the example to pray. That goes with me still. And I've talked before about how my mom wrote prayers to me when I was in college, and that I've saved those and I still have those things. I think if I had to pick a visual for the job that moms have, I wonder if it fits to compare it to a garden, because moms bring life, literally, but moms also cultivate life slowly. The thing about what moms do every day, and I think why there's so much exhaustion sometimes just looking at that job from the outside, is because maybe you don't see things changing or happening or working every single day when you're mom. You just know you're doing it. You just know you're there in the dirt of it, in the daily life of the home. You know, maybe you get an encouraging word with your kids some days and feel good about that. But maybe other days you're like, I don't know what I did. I just cleaned up messes all day long. And honestly, I feel like I was kind of grumpy, and I don't know if I said anything good or that mattered. And I'm not sure what kind of mom I'm being. I think you're being like a garden, Mom. I think it's like that there's a slow work happening. There's a slow life growing. There's good fruit that's being formed right now. And then you don't see it overnight. You don't see it in a day. And it probably feels cheap for me to just be able to say it here on a podcast, what me not being a mom anyways. But I think about my mom and knowing that she felt discouraged when all along God was doing something. I think about my wife, who she certainly feels worn down and wondering, what am I doing? I'm just cleaning up after toddlers all the time. Yeah, I know, I even see it, that there's good fruit growing, because it's like a garden. It happens slowly over time, but what it is really is it's life. That's what's growing. That's the work that's being done.
And you and I have spoken about this many times, off the radio and even on the radio. There's been, you just mentioned your wife's like, what am I doing? I'm feeding kids. When we didn't have kids, my wife was a little older, in her 30s, when we had both of our kids, and she had been looking forward to being a mom all her life. And now here she was a mom, and she had 2 toddlers over, a couple year span. And she would find herself in the middle of the living room, just crying her eyes out, overwhelmed. It's like, what am I doing? Like that same feelings you just mentioned. It's like, all I'm doing is this, and I don't feel, and I kept reminding her, it's like, no, I know these are, I say, I know, like you said, we haven't lived it. We don't know that. But, coming as a support beside to say, yeah, this has to be tough now, but hang in there. It's going to be worth it. And so I can now fast forward. Our kids are in our 30s, and both of our kids, because of that time that mom was able to spend, and not all moms are able to spend times and stay at home. And I understand that. And that's a tough thing, and you have to work even harder. But that relationship that you build early on, going through those, well, this isn't very glamorous, this isn't what I thought motherhood was all about, pays off in the long run, because to this day, both of our kids love to spend time with mom. They speak glowingly of mom. And I remind Audrey, I'm like, remember those times back when they were little? It didn't seem so glamorous and fun now, but it does pay off, that relationship that you build and the time spent. And again, not every mom can do that, and understand that. And our prayers go out to you that you can't be there all the time. But and single moms, I don't know how single moms do it, and those kind of things. So many things that I have not experienced, but it's just like, yes, hang in there. You're doing great work. You're seen, you're valued by your kids, and that pays off big time in the long run.
I think about, you just said the word seen, and I'm looking at in the Old Testament where the story, you could miss this, you could go by it, but if you're a mom and you read it, I think you're not going to skim by it, where I'll save the context, but just say Hagar's a woman who's sent out on her own with her son, and she's on her own in the desert and about to experience thirst and starvation, you can imagine too, to death with her son. No one to provide for her, by herself, as a mom, with her kid. What am I going to do? Well, God shows up. God makes a promise to her and to her son, and God provides for them. She then gives God the name of the God who sees me. And I love that so much, even though that's not my life experience, what she experienced, to know that God sees us individually, to know especially in a unique and intimate way, that God sees you when you feel like no one else sees you, that he's your provider when you say, I don't have a provider for me and my family in this world. Well, you know what? You've got the same God that Hagar did and does. The God who sees you. That's the real God you have today, Mom.
I'm going to finish on just a mom story that may be a heads up to someone maybe going through something right now. As I got as an adult, and my mom was getting older, and she was going to, I didn't know that at the time, but she was going to die in the next, 6 months. And she had, serious surgery. And Mom was always, this won't surprise you either, Mom talked a lot. I guess I get that from her too. She talked and talked and talked, so much to the fact that it may not be talking in your situation, but something that your mom does really bugs you, like really gets under your skin. And that happens in families. It's like, ugh, that whatever that is, that bothers you. And one thing that always got me, it's like, and the rest of our family is like, Mom, just be quiet, just like you talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And so after she had surgery and she was intubated, the last 30 days of her life, she had to write notes to communicate. And I remember thinking, wow, thank you, Lord, for that reminder of the thing that bothered me the most over a long period of time about my mom was the thing that I missed the most. I would have given anything to hear her voice again. So maybe you're going through a tough time, and maybe something, I'll bet you something you do bothers someone else too. But to be thankful for in all things. We're supposed to be thankful in all things, God tells us. And yeah, so that's just always remind me. When I think of my mom, I'm thinking, isn't that ironic? The thing that bothered me the most is the thing I wanted to hear the most on her final days.
Anyone else wish morning started just a little later? Yeah, we get that. It's Rise Up on Family
When
Life.
God is in the car of my life, go with me here, it's a metaphor.
Okay.
How should I be driving? Living my life. Okay, well, I know this. I don't want to be a cruise control Christian. Like, what would that mean? Like, set it and forget it in your life? Like, no, it's a daily thing, the commitment to follow Christ. I know this. I don't want to be a distracted driver of my life. Like, eyes on Jesus, just like you got your eyes on the road. But what if, maybe this is even better, what if I pulled over, so to speak, when it's safe, turning signal on, then I got out of this car of my life, I go to the passenger side, and I let Jesus slide into the driver's seat. God, take control. God, as others have said, take the wheel. My life's direction today, I want you to be the one driving this thing.
Sharing the message of hope. It's Rise Up with Steve and Tim on Family Life.
Let me be clear, I'm not making fun or light of a phobia, because phobias are real. There's lots of different kinds of phobias, and I'm not making light of that. I've never heard of this one, and I just want to let you know that I am a safe place for this phobia, which I'd never heard of before. It's called gellophobia. Gellophobia with a G. Gellophobia is a fear and anxiety of laughter. So I'm a safe place.
Wow.
So when you're around me,
Oh, boy.
you will not encounter
Oh, boy.
any of that laughter. So
Okay.
anyway, I'd never heard of that.
Because
Well-
they're not going to be laughing.
No, because I'm around.
your
and
jokes.
People know they've been around me long
There's
enough. I mean, so Jello,
no
Jello,
fear
by the
about
way,
that.
with a G, Jello is Greek for laugh. So that's what that comes
Well, how
from.
about that?
Well, in some cases, there's always room for Jello.
Yeah, this is a safe place. You're
safe
right.
place.
Very
safe
safe.
place. No anxiety
None.
whatsoever.
May the blessings of the Lord be with you in all that you do today. This is Rise Up on Family Life.